Here's 2 pages. I know there's a different size. Who's for looking at him? That is. For looking at you.
Oh, okay.
That's okay.
Okay, good. So, we are continuing with the trial of Jesus. So for us to finish Jenna's topic. So remember we said that the trial of Jesus, the way all 4 gospels put them together, okay, we fully identify in 4 stages. Okay, the first stage was when Jesus was tried and condemned by the Sanhedrin. That is when he stood before the high priest. And they then took Jesus bound to Pontius Pilate, because from what they explained, they did not have the power to condemn or to kill any person that they themselves have actually condemned. So they needed the Roman authority to effect their own condemnation. But he then tried to see whether the condemnation that the Sanhedrin condemned Jesus was right. So he had to try Jesus again. And he kept on asking them, what are you accusing this man of? And that was when they started again to now bring up political accusations. The political accusations that they did not discuss when Jesus stood before them. But for the Roman to actually condemn Jesus, they had to say Jesus declared himself king. So, well, still, now today we are going to see what happened when Jesus was brought back from Herod, brought back again to the Pontius Pilate, where he then tried to see on what basis he could truly condemn Jesus. And if he could not find any basis, how he could set Jesus free. Okay, so I think we will read anyway the first one, which is in Luke chapter 23 from verse 13 to 25.
Chapter what?
Luke chapter 23 from verse 13 to 25.
Yeah. So I can go in order now. Yeah.
Okay, start then. Yes.
Altogether, the chief priests, rulers, and the people, he said to them, "Who brought me this man as one who was inciting the people to rebellion?
Yeah.
I have examined him in your presence and found no basis for your charges against him. And I was terrified and sent him back to us. See, he has done nothing to deserve death. Therefore, I will punish him and then release him." But the whole crowd shouted, "Away with this man! Release Barabbas to us." Barabbas had been thrown into prison for an insurrection in the city and for murder. Wanting to release Jesus, Pilate appealed to them again, but they kept shouting, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" The third time he spoke to them, "Why? What crime has this man committed? I have found in him no grounds for the death penalty. Therefore, I will have him punished and then released." But with loud shouts, they insisted with the trumpet that he be crucified, and their shouts So Pilate decided to grant their demand, release the man who had been thrown into prison for insurrection and murder, the one they asked for, surrendered Jesus to their will.
So what's insurrection?
Against
The riot, yeah. So now what do we find odd? This particular second time when Jesus stood before the Roman governor, from what we have just read, what didn't really sound right with you? He said he was innocent.
He said nothing really was on defense.
Oh, well, yeah, of course, Jesus didn't defend himself, but Pontius Pilate actually saw from, even though Jesus didn't really defend himself, but the accusation that he was a political criminal, you know, who tried to cause chaos and yes, he didn't have any evidence. There was no record or report that Jesus did those things. But what I really found odd was what he decided that, look, I will punish him and then I will let him go. If he is innocent, why punish him? No, which means basically he just wanted to please the Jews.
Yeah.
Yes. So just to please, hoping that if he should punish Jesus, they will sympathize and say, okay, he has been punished, therefore he could go. But the Jews wouldn't have, they wouldn't have it. So the Jews kept on saying, what, we brought him here so you could crucify him. And there is nothing, whether you accepted our accusations or not, he must be crucified.
Were there bribes as well? Were some of the people bribed?
So now the crowds, well, the crowds probably knew that, even though we are not told, the Jewish the rulers, because they were the ones asking Jesus to be crucified, the crowd had to also cry the same. Because these rulers, they were powerful. If they could identify you, they will excommunicate you from the synagogue. Therefore, if you were saying anything that is contrary to what they were saying, you were putting your religious prospect in danger. Therefore, they all shouted what the Jewish leaders were saying: crucify him, crucify him.
But it was the sort of spiritual rulers, because Herod sent him to.
Yes, innocent, yeah.
But all this followers,
Yeah, that is true, because just about a week ago, or just about a few days ago, Jesus rode through the streets of Jerusalem. And then the same crowd, they were all shouting, Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna. Now Jesus was in trouble. They all joined the religious leaders to shout, crucify him, crucify him.
Yeah.
Let me put it here. Sorry about that. There was a time Jesus told them that, look, if you have a sword, go and get it. If you do not have a sword, go buy one. And that was why actually Peter had his sword with him the time Jesus was arrested. And he tried to defend Jesus. But Jesus told him, no, do not defend me. You know, if I wanted to be defended, I will call on heaven, and heaven will send me fighting angels, and they would have fought for me. And so Peter stopped defending his own master, and then he started to hide. So that Jesus didn't need any defense, because he wanted to fulfill the prophecies that have been spoken concerning him. Okay?
It was silent to the high priest, was it?
Yes, cut off, yes.
And suppose the high priest's servant had to be in top condition, so when they hear listen, he would have been able
Not to continue, yes. 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 Otherwise, if he was actually disabled, just as you said, he won't be able to walk in the temple anymore. Therefore, Jesus did him a great favor, putting back his ear without surgery. You know, picked it up, put it there, and it's stuck. Okay, let us see Matthew, how also Matthew said how he wrote this particular stage. Now Matthew 27, 15 to 26. Let me make this bigger. Matthew 27, here, 15 to 26. So it is the same, but definitely reported reported in a different way. Okay, who is reading for us now? Okay, here, Matthew 27, here. Verse 15. Look at that. Okay. 27, 15 to 26.
Now it was the governor's custom at the festival to release a prisoner chosen by the crowds. At that time they had a well-known prisoner whose name was Jesus Barabbas. Oh yes, Jesus Barabbas. So when the crowds had gathered, Pilate asked them, "Which one do you want me to release to you? Jesus Barabbas or Jesus who was called the Messiah?" For he knew it was out of self-interest that they handed Jesus over to him.
Jealousy.
While Pilate was sitting on the judge's seat, his wife sent him this message: "Don't have anything to do with that innocent man, for I've suffered a great deal today in the dream because of him." But the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas and to have Jesus executed. "Which of the two do you want me to release to you?" asked the governor. "Barabbas." That's not right. "Barabbas," they answered. "Well, what shall I do then with Jesus, who is called the Messiah?"
He shouldn't have asked that. But anyway.
They all answered, "Crucify him." "Why? What crime has he committed?" asked Pilate. But they shouted all the louder, "Crucify him." When Pilate saw that he was getting nowhere, but that instead an uproar was starting, he took water and washed his hands in front of the crowd. "I'm innocent of this man's blood," he said. "It is your responsibility." And all the people answered, "His blood is on us and on our children." Then he released Barabbas to them, but he had Jesus flogged and handed him over to be crucified.
No, the flogging wasn't actually necessary. No, after you already condemned him. So, but anyway, so here we see him trying to set Jesus free. He had this grace. Every year, he actually released one prisoner, out of his own grace. So he then thought that, okay, maybe I can use that grace to set Jesus free. But then Instead of him to just do it, he decided to let the people decide. Said, look, this is Jesus. This is a criminal that you all know, murderer, criminal. Which of them should I set free? Why ask that? You already said Jesus was innocent. Besides, Jesus wasn't yet a prisoner. The other one was. Therefore, the two people that he presented to them, they were not of the same level of judgment, or whatever it is. Okay, Jesus was still under trial. So, if you have not yet condemned Jesus, you shouldn't be asking the people, who should I set free? The person under trial, or this person who has been jailed for some time now? No, he should have just said, I find nothing wrong. Jesus, I set you free. But he didn't do that.
Because he thought he might lose his job.
He was afraid for his job.
Yes.
And that is what many judges do, even till today. Very many sentences they give, some of them give to satisfy the government who has placed them there. No? And basically, this man didn't want anything to do with the religious leaders, because if there was any riot, it will actually tarnish his own image before Rome. Therefore, he was being very, very careful, playing it like a politician that he was. But then his wife tried also to intervene, to put pressure on her husband to set Jesus free. The wife said, I had been sleeping, but I've been having nightmares concerning that righteous man. Have nothing to do with his death. His wife warned him, do not listen to the Jews. You will only make things worse. I have suffered in my sleep because of Jesus. Now, we do not know how that happened, but certainly that was what she said she saw. Okay? Having nightmares concerning Jesus, that he felt that if her husband should kill Jesus, something evil might happen to them. So she sent him a warning. And what did he do to wash himself clean from? He washed his hands.
In front of everybody.
Because his wife had warned him. Said, look, I am doing what you say. Not what I want to do. Therefore, my hands are clean. And he took water and he washed. But the Jews, they said, we do not mind. Let his death be on us and on our children. Sad, isn't it?
I wonder what happened to Pontius Pilate. Is there any history?
Well, I have not read such, but that will be a very good PhD topic. Yeah. What happened to the Pilate? Because it is possible there are books that people must have actually written that are there, probably in Rome, probably somewhere, so that any person doing PhD theology will have to go to search for all those books and actually study them and then write about them.
I wondered as a kid whether the Jews had such a difficult time because of this.
Yeah. Okay, it's possible. Yes.
And it comes right through to this day.
Exactly.
Yeah. They put the curse on themselves and their children. But one thing that worked well for them, when we come over to the next study, one of the things Jesus said before he died, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they were doing. Okay? So Jesus actually set them free from this spell of a curse that they put upon themselves. Okay. Otherwise, they were breaking their own law. The Old Testament said, you do not condemn an innocent man. Okay, the Old Testament law says it. You need 2 witnesses, okay, that will confess that yes, what you accuse this man of, he actually did it. So, and that evidence wasn't there. Even when the Pilate told them, I find nothing wrong, this man has not done what you accuse him of. Now Matthew told us that he knew that it was out of selfish interest that they wanted Jesus killed. But the question is, why didn't he set Jesus free? If I was in his shoes, what would I have done? Yeah.
They could have killed him, really.
Yes.
Well, didn't they?
So that it's possible that was what his wife was saying, that if you kill this man who had healed very many people, this man, he had a large, actually, following of the poor people in the land. They could actually, the people could actually rise in a protest for you killing him. But the thing is that he saw that it was the people who wanted him killed, not him. Therefore, there will be no riot.
He also had to think of King Herod.
Oh, yes.
He was,
so, Herod,
man.
yeah.
And he suddenly began to like him, or he likes him.
Yeah.
So that was.
Now they became friends.
Another thing too.
They became friends because the 2 of them agreed that Jesus was innocent.
He had a lot against him, really, didn't he?
Yes. But still, he handed over the innocent and he set the murderer free. Some people are now saying that Barabbas was actually one of the first to benefit from the condemnation of Jesus, because he gained his own freedom from the death of Jesus. I am sure Barabbas would have been saying, if he went over to the cross to look at Jesus, said, that could have been me. That could have been me. So, but instead of him, to probably thank Jesus or thank God, he would thank his friends, the Jews, that they chose him and they sent Jesus to be crucified. Okay, let's see what Mark says. It might be exactly the same thing, but
What is it, Mark?
yes, Mark chapter 15, 6 to 15.
Now it was the custom. Yeah. Now it was the custom at the festival to release a prisoner. The people requested. A man called Barabbas was in prison with the insurrectionists who had committed murder in the uprising. The crowd came up and asked Pilate to do for them a eulogy. Do you want me to release to you the King of the Jews? Asked Pilate, knowing it was out of self-interest that the chief priests had handed Jesus over to him. But the chief priests stirred up the crowd to have Pilate released and Barabbas. Released Barabbas instead. What shall I do then with the one you call King of the Jews? Pilate said. Crucify him, they shouted. Why? What crime has he committed against Pilate? But they shouted all aloud, crucify him.
Yeah.
Wanted to satisfy the crowd, Pilate released Barabbas to them. He had Jesus flogged and handed him over to be crucified. Is that the end of it?
Yes. So that here, Mark now tells us in plain language that he wanted to satisfy the Jews. That was why he handed Jesus to be killed, and he set the murderer free. So injustice, and yet Jesus did not complain. No. So John, what does John say? John chapter 18, 39 to sorry, let me see this.
39.
Sorry. Yeah. Yes. John 18, 39.
49.
No.
39, which is probably the last verse there. Okay, good. Yes,
Your custom for me to raise the new word of Israel at the time of Passover. You want me to release that you are doing the shouting back at them. No, not me. It was Barabbas. Barabbas that taking part in the
Okay.
19.
Yes, 19, that's a long one, 1 to 16. Yeah.
Jesus taking the picture.
No.
It's the next chapter. It does 39 and 40, and then the next verse is the first.
Okay. If it is, I'm sorry. Now you can leave that one. Now we will still read it. That is in the next study. Yes. So, So basically, it is just those two verses. 39, 40. Let me correct this. So, okay. Because that one talks about when Jesus was now tortured after he had been condemned. So honestly, that just tells us how Jesus was tried, condemned, without any accusation that they could prove. No proof for any accusation. Bless you. No proof whatsoever. And that is, we will say sad, but then Isaiah already prophesied that Jesus will be denied justice. That is what we read in Isaiah 53. He said he will be denied justice. Judgment will be taken from him. And then that place that we already read said the sin of the people will be put upon him. But in Jesus, no sin was found, no guile was found on his lips. And that, so that we were not told that Jesus was now sent to be crucified because the Pilate wanted to make the Jews happy. Okay. So, and I really pray that the Lord helps us with this. So now let us move on now to the sermon David preached. Yes. So let us move on to the death of Jesus. Okay, so this just follows on. So we're actually following the whole story from the trial to the death. And again, I say all four Gospels report the account of the death of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. The events we shall examine in this study happened during the period from his condemnation to when he was buried. Okay, so that is what, and here I actually outline 6 events, okay, surrounding his death and his burial. 1, Jesus was tortured after he was condemned. And then Jesus was actually paraded like a criminal through the streets of Jerusalem. And then Jesus was then nailed on the cross. And then Jesus died. And then we will look at all the last words Jesus said on the cross. Now, that is always a very, very interesting sermon. A very interesting sermon, the last words of Jesus on the cross. Okay. And the last one, his burial with the rich. Okay, so that is all. Then we will answer some very interesting questions after we have read all of them. So each of them, we will find out what happened to Jesus at each event. And then we then begin to now discuss the theology of his death. Okay. There is a word that is used. I am hoping we will understand it, okay, when we answer the questions here. The word atonement, okay, atonement, okay, and then after that, we will also understand, why Jesus asked his disciples to carry their own crosses like he did, okay? Because his death helps us to understand why Jesus said, anyone who wants to be my disciple, he must take up his cross and follow me, okay? So that it is from the cross of Christ that we understand what he meant, that we ourselves, we should take up our crosses and follow him. So let's just go on. I'm sure, yes, we still have ample time. Therefore, let us start. Okay, let us look at what, so all of them, they all practically say, they describe the same event. Okay, only John puts it in a different way. Okay, so in John, the torture of Jesus was done before he was condemned. Okay, but in Matthew and Mark, the torture was done after the Pilate gave Jesus away to be crucified. So that is the difference, but they all still say the same event, that Jesus went through the torture. I actually call it here the torture chamber. Okay, but the name that the Roman gave to it was the Praetorium. Let us read Matthew 27 to 31. Yeah, of course you can.
They stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him, and then twisted together a crown of thorns and set it on his head. They put a staff in his right hand, and they knelt in front of him and knocked him. Very killed the losers. And they spit on him and took the staff and put him on the other day. After they had mocked him, they took off his robe and put his own clothes on him, and they led him away to crucify him.
Yeah. If you watch this scene in the Passion of Christ, the film, it was horrible. It was horrible. The scourge, the whip, there were those that, from what I was told or read, that they were not just plain whips, but that they were whips that had mental things tied into them, so that when they throw the whip, when they pull it back, it tears the skin. No, it tears the skin. That is how terrible it is. Okay. But what else did the soldiers do to Jesus? They mocked him. They spat on him.
They dressed him up.
They dressed him up like a king. They put a crown of thorns, pressed it down until he began to bleed. Okay. So, and then they struck him again. So it is only when you read this place that you then understand Isaiah 53. That says he took my griefs, my sorrow, my pain, and by his stripes we are healed. Okay, by his stripes we are healed. Okay, let us see how Mark. It is the same, but there's no worries. Let us just enjoy ourselves. Mark 15, 16 to 20. Yeah, here. Mark 15, 16 to 20.
And the soldiers led him away into the hall called Praetorium, and they called together the whole band, and they clothed him with purple and plaited a crown of thorns and put it about his head, and began to salute him, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they smote him on the head with a reed, and did spit upon him, and bowing their knees worshipped him. And when they had mocked him, they took off the purple from him and put his own clothes on him and led him out to crucify him.
So that it was like that was their torture routine. Any criminal that has been condemned to death, they had to do that: mock, beat, kill, tear him apart, because he or she, well, he had already been condemned to death. Okay, therefore, whatever they did, they didn't consider themselves to be doing anything against their own law. Okay, he was already condemned. I think that was why they were very, very vicious. And then we will soon see, even without weakness, when we come over to the street parade, even with the beating, with the bleeding, they still put a cross on him and told him to drag the cross across the streets. Okay, so in the three Gospels, only one verse sort of talks about it, and they all say the same thing. Okay, the Gospel that gave detail as to what happened on the street is Luke chapter 23, 26 to 32. The other Gospel just say that the soldiers actually commanded an African, Simon of Cyrene, to help him carry the cross. They really didn't say what happened as he went along the street. That is why I say, let us just read Luke 23, 26 to 32. Yes, the number 2 now, yes. Yes, John, yes, purposely, yes. Yes. So here, Luke 23, 26 to 32. Yeah.
So just led him away, and it sees Simon from Cyrene was on his way across on a large number of people followed him, including women who mourned and wailed. Jesus turned and said to them, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, for yourselves and your children. The time will come when you will say, Blessed are the childless women, the wombs that never bore, breasts that never nursed. Then they will say to the mountains, Falls, to the hills, rivers."
Yeah. Yes, continue.
People do these things when the tree is green. What will happen when it is dry? Two of them also
Thank you. So, therefore, the first part of this passage rhymes with what the other gospel said. Simon of a Cyrene, the Cyrenes at that time was a place in Africa. And it's possible this guy could have been a black man too, but who happened also to be living in Israel as at that time. So they put the cross on Jesus, but when they saw Jesus was too weak and to make the journey, they forced this other man to bear his cross behind Jesus. Okay. But what do you think of what Jesus said? He said to the wailing women. Now the women could have said, we were not there when our husbands shouted, crucify him, crucify him. Otherwise, I think that could be why they were crying. If they were the ones who said crucify him, then they wouldn't cry. So, but what do you think of what Jesus told the women?
Blessed are the childless women, and the wombs that never bore, blessed are the
Yeah.
You don't have the anguish, do you, if you haven't had children? You don't have the anguish of
Yeah.
what was coming
Yeah.
onto these.
Yeah. And I think Jesus was actually prophesying about part of the calamity that will fall upon Jerusalem because of the injustice they had done. So therefore Jesus said, women, do not weep for me, weep for yourselves because of the calamity that will come upon the land. Okay, basically that was what Jesus was saying. Then Jesus now said, if they can do this, that's a parable there. If they can do this when the tree is still green, okay, like if they can set a green tree on fire, what will they do when the tree becomes dry? Then the fire becomes bigger, greater. So if they can do this injustice, that means they were capable of doing greater evil, greater injustice. So Jesus said, do not cry for me. Cry for yourselves because there is trouble that is coming. Okay?
And there still is.
Yeah, there still is.
I know, it's so sad, isn't it? All
Yeah, yeah. Now the Romans has actually invaded, not invaded, no. They actually burnt down Jerusalem sometime around 80, 70, I think. I will check. Okay. Was it even that long? And they destroyed the temple completely. And it's possible since that time the temple had not been rebuilt. That is what I think it is possible. I don't have my facts straight, but the temple was actually destroyed just as Jesus prophesied. Okay, Jesus Christ said, a time will come when you will not have one stone standing upon another. You know, and that was fulfilled when Jerusalem was burned down by the Romans. You know, so, and you know that type of crisis, the people who suffer more, they are the women who have children. Yes. The mothers will cry for their children who die during such crisis. That is why Jesus Christ said, blessed are the women who never gave birth, because they would not have any children to lose when the calamity comes, because of what this injustice that they had done. Okay. But anyway, one wouldn't say, maybe it is, no, but the Jews, the Messiah came to them, did wonderful things, wonderful works, preached the truth, yet they chose a blind blind execution of their laws, and they felt Jesus didn't fit into their laws. In fact, they felt Jesus, because he was healing people on the Sabbath, he was actually breaking their law. Okay, and then Jesus called God his Father, making himself the same or one with God. And so all these things was why they didn't accept Jesus was the Messiah that the same prophets told them to expect. And Jesus made sure he fulfilled every prophecy so that they will see him fulfilling this prophecy, but they were spiritually blind. Okay, so that was what Jesus said to the women: do not cry for me, cry for yourself. No, that if they did this when the tree is still green, what will they do when the tree becomes dry? They will do worse. But blessed are those women who never gave suck, who never had any child. No, and because of the same calamity that will happen. Okay? So, but the women, they were really, really passionate about Jesus. He healed their children. He healed also their husbands. No, they themselves, they loved his teachings, but they had no power to change the course of his trial that led to his death. Okay, now let us go on. Yes, we still have time. Let us go on to now talk about the king hanging on the cross. In Matthew 27, 33 to 44. So this particular scene, the Gospels presented it differently. So I think we will try to read all of them now. Matthew 27, 33 to 44.
Peter replied, is that it? No.
They came.
Matthew 27. Here.
Yes. 33. It keeps it's probably my fault. I didn't say that. I'm blaming this.
Something has got to be blamed.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we understand.
Oh. Oh, yeah. Then came to a place called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull. That there they offered Jesus wine to drink, mixed with gall. But after tasting it, he refused to drink it. When they had crucified him, They divided up his clothes by casting lots. And sitting down, they kept watch over him there. Above his head, they placed a written charge against him. This is Jesus, the King of the Jews.
Mm.
2 rebels were crucified with him, one on his right and one on his left. Those who passed by hurled insults at him, shaking their heads and saying, "You are going to destroy the temple and build it in 3 days. Save yourself. Come down from the cross if you are the Son of God." In the same way, the chief priests and teachers of the law and the elders mocked him. "He saved others," they said, "but he can't save himself. He is the King of Israel. Let him come down from the cross, and we will believe in him. He trusts in God. Let God rescue him now if he wants him, for he said, 'I am the Son of God.'" In the same way, the rebels who were crucified with him also heaped insults on him.
Mm.
Well, one didn't.
They did to start with.
Oh, did he? Oh.
Okay.
Mm.
So what happened to Jesus on the cross, and according to Matthew?
He was tempted. They tempted him.
They were tempting him, taunting him,
Mm.
trying to get him to come down. Okay.
I mean, would he have had that power? It's a big question about the crucifixion, and it's like, do you remember how long it was? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't-
Well, I remember asking him because he said, because I couldn't find a job at all. He was unemployed. And I said to him, "You've got to really understand that. Because you know what it's like to be powerless. And he said, "Oh, I said, yes, the crucifixion." And then explained more that as he died. That was it, the right. He'd given up the ghost, the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And that answered my question.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, I don't say anything that's right or wrong.
Yeah.
I just felt like he answered a difficult question.
Mm.
Yeah.
I kind of appreciate.
Yes.
Because when you think that all our sins placed on
On him, yes.
our turns away,
Mm. Yeah.
and that's when. So that's when.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it wasn't as if God couldn't do anything, but God had a plan, which and I like the way Paul always says it, that it's a plan, our salvation plan, that God had drawn before the world began, and according to Paul, and God had to be faithful to his plan. So he sent himself, in Jesus. So while Jesus was there on the cross, and technically God was there with him. No, but yet, we will soon see, because it is one of the words of Jesus. Yet, Jesus, there was a moment when he didn't feel the presence of God with him. And he shouted, "Father, Father, why have you forsaken me?" Okay. It must have been the most painful part of the whole shame of the whole thing. Not even the taunting by the passerbys or by the robbers. The fact that there was that instant when he didn't feel the presence of God that he always had. But that is what exactly sin does. Sin always separates us from God, always. we may never realize how terrible it is for one to be disconnected from God when we have sinned and we have refused to repent. But Jesus felt it.
When you think God in Jesus, Jesus in God,
Yeah.
and God felt the same anguish, I'm sure.
Yes, yes,
When his son was
yes,
because he was separated.
yes, yes,
Because of our sin.
yes, yes,
Horrendous.
yes, of course.
And God sent him to do that.
Yes, yes, yes.
Which,
No. But yet, Isaiah tells us of what we call divine satisfaction. Okay. Which is in Isaiah 53. Let me just read that place. In Isaiah 53. It is a place that you will find difficult to understand. But it says that God will see the suffering of his soul and he will be satisfied. Okay, Isaiah 53. Let me just, yes, verse 10 and 11. Yeah, so that if you, so verse 10 and 11 says, yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He has put him to grief. And when you make his soul an offering, that's atonement, okay, an offering for sin, he shall see his seed and he shall prolong his days. And the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hands. Verse 11 says, he shall see the labor, that particular word, on a labor that the New King James called a labor, it is actually suffering. Yes, suffering, that he will see the anguish, the pain of his soul. And yet, quite a contrast. Says, and God will be satisfied. And God will be satisfied. So this is one aspect of God that many people do not understand.
but it said, goes on to say,
Yes.
you will see the light of God and be satisfied. That's
No,
not
yes.
my righteous,
That, yeah.
Sorry about
it
this.
is fulfilled.
It is fulfilled. The price for the salvation of man is paid. That is why he will be satisfied. Not that he is happy seeing Jesus suffer. No. 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 It is because Jesus has done what I sent him to do. And he has taken, like how Isaiah wrote these things down. It is beautiful, and I know we will still read this anyway later on, but I can't hold myself back. From verse 4, and it says, surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrow. Yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgression. He was bruised for our iniquities. And the chastisement, the punishment for us to be at peace with God, the chastisement for our peace was upon him. And by his stripes we are healed. So Isaiah helps us to understand all the things going on when Jesus hung there on the cross, when Jesus was being beaten, when he was being spat on, when he was being shamed. One thing most of us do not know, that actually the Romans, when they actually crucify people, okay, they crucify them nude. so that you actually understand that when Jesus hung on the cross, in fact, we read that the Romans took away his clothes and then started to actually share them. That tells you that Jesus was actually nude on the cross. That is the shame. The whole Jerusalem could see the preacher, the master, the rabbi, whatever they call Jesus, hung on the cross and completely naked.
That was the Roman crucifixion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, well, yeah, I know. Now we'll stop now. Yes.
No, just a bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why, where are you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
I, when we're hearing all of this, and then I think of the verse which says, "Wow, sinners Christ."
yes. So I am going to stop the recording.